Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. In this episode, we are going to be landing on the moon. That is right, landing on the moon. I've done a couple things off camera. I did the orbit around the moon and everything like that, as you can see through our contracts. You can see that I've achieved orbit around the moon. So I went ahead and did that off camera just because I spent 2 episodes trying to do it, and it wasn't working out so well. So went ahead and did that. You can see we have quite a bit of science at our disposal here, and there's a couple things I want to do. So the first thing here is I want to make sure to get fuel systems, because that's going to give us our fuel ducts that we can use later on for asparagus staging. So let's go ahead and purchase that, and that's going to open up some things we can use here pretty soon, actually, for space stations and stuff along those lines. The other thing I want to get here is, since we are going to be landing on the moon, I want to make sure to have some solar panels. That way we have a constant supply of energy, so that we don't run out. Let's go ahead and pick that guy up as well. And the last thing I want to get here is I want to go ahead and get flight control, just so we have some probe options here for the further away stuff. So probably our first mission to Minmus, it's going to be an unmanned mission. So I want to go ahead and pick that up as well. And that's going to give us access to RCS thrusters and stuff along those lines here too. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and head into our vehicle assembly building. And we're going to go ahead and create a lander here. So we're of course going to start off with the only command pod we really have. We're going to make sure to have a parachute on it for the return journey. And we're going to throw a science module on it like so. We'll have mystery goo. And then of course a comm system, just in case everything goes horribly wrong. Which it's been known to before. And a lot of people like using the T200 fuel tank for their lander base. I'm going to go ahead and use the 400 just to give us a little bit more wiggle room in case we don't stick the landing, so to speak. And let's go ahead and throw some legs on here as well. Just like so. Now, aside from all of this stuff here, we're also going to want to make sure to throw some battery packs on here, and that's going to give us enough energy to maintain power when we're on the dark side of the moon, if we end up landing there. Actually, I might put these. Yeah, we'll leave them there. We'll leave them right there, and then we're going to grab some illuminators. Let's go ahead and we'll use these. That way we have a way to see while we're landing, if we end up landing on the dark side. That's going to give us some options there. We're also going to want to make sure to throw solar panels on here, of course. A whole lot of them, just like that. And that's going to be our lander. And that's gonna do us there. So let's go ahead and throw a decoupler on here, and then we're gonna start the base of our rocket. I'm gonna go ahead and try this method again here, just because we didn't get to really last time because of my mistake, obviously, of not strutting these things together. Always make sure to strut things together when you're using them. We're gonna go ahead and use. Let's go ahead and use. We'll go ahead and use the 30s here. I think that's gonna be fine, honestly. So we'll go ahead and throw those guys on. And before we forget, let's go ahead and strut these guys together. Just like so. we're going to grab some radial decouplers, and we're going to throw some SRBs on there, or solid fuel boosters. And we are going to equip those with some nose cones. And we will also end up strutting these together as well. Just like that. And let's go ahead and grab our launch stability enhancers. And that's gonna do it. This rocket right here should give us enough power to get to the moon and back. Is the mission here. So I'm just gonna do it once over here. Make sure we have everything we need. I believe so. And we're going to name this Lander Mark 1. Let's go and head out to the launch pad. And I'm going to go ahead and get this guy into orbit for us, and I will be back with you once we achieve that. Welcome back, everybody. We have achieved orbit. You can see the rocket looks a little bit different than it did in the first part of this video. The reason for that is because the rocket we had before simply wasn't doing it. I could get into orbit fine, but once I started the burn towards the moon, it would just kind of fall short, and I ended up having to use too much of my lander's fuel just to kind of get into position to even attempt a landing. So I went back and I redesigned the rocket, and we are using asparagus staging now. So with that, you can see I've still quite a bit of fuel here. I just need to make my initial burn towards the moon, which we're going to be doing here momentarily. And yeah, let's see how this attempt here goes. I'm going to go and speed up time just so we can get to that burn a little bit quicker. And we're going to go ahead and start our burn right now. So what I have here is kind of a funky way to get to the moon. The orbit that I ended up getting with this rocket wasn't exactly the best, but I think we're gonna make it work here. So we can see that we're burning out here. As we get closer, we're going to go ahead and throttle down just so that we make sure not to miss our moon encounter. We continue throttling down here and just kind of chase this blue marker on the nav ball. Alright, so we have a moon encounter coming up here. Let's go ahead and speed up some time just so that we get underway here. And we still have a good amount of fuel left. I think we're going to be able to most certainly get a landing on the moon here. And we are far, far away from both of them as of right now. Like I said, this is a really, really weird way to get to the moon. Definitely not something I would recommend trying, just because it does take quite a bit of fuel. And you do have to wait quite a while in order to even get there in the first place. Let's slow it down here. And we actually have we're actually going on a direct path straight towards the moon here. So what I want to make sure to do is go ahead and tilt this ship over, and I want it to be facing well, at least on the nav ball, I want to be pointed towards my retrograde vector That way I can slow my descent as we start to get a bit closer here. Ooh, come on. Stop. And with a ship like this, it's pretty hard to kind of move around in space here. Certainly much harder when we're going through the atmosphere, but so far so good. We still have quite a bit of fuel left. I think we're going to be able to accomplish this mission without any problems here. So as we get closer here, our nav ball is eventually going to change from orbit to surface. And now that we're getting a bit closer, I'm going to go ahead and use some of our fuel that we have to kind of cut out any horizontal velocity we may have. By which I mean, essentially, when we get to the moon or close to the moon, we want to make sure that we're dropping straight down if we can help it. Otherwise, we risk tipping over our lander and then getting stuck on the moon, and then horrible things happen, and we never come back to rescue that Kerbal. Poor Jebediah would live on the moon. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of following my retrograde marker all the way down. Actually burning quite a bit here. We could probably throttle down a bit. So it's just changed over to surface. And we're actually in a pretty good spot. We kind of lucked out. We're landing on the bright side of the moon here, so we're not going to have to be worrying about power or anything like that. We have quite a bit of fuel here, actually. Normally when I get to the moon, I'm kind of using the lander's fuel at this point to kind of prepare for the landing. But being able to use this main rocket is pretty darn nice. Especially because it's more powerful. It kind of have a little bit more leeway in terms of not just crashing on down. Because the lander engine we have on here isn't very powerful, but it is very efficient. And before we start going straight down here, I'm going to go ahead and just drop off that last stage. I'm going to go ahead and throw our landing legs out here. Whew. Stay. There we go. All right, so landed on the moon. Man, we jettisoned that rocket just in time. Actually, we were falling pretty fast. Definitely one thing to consider here is when you're going to the moon, you don't want to really go off this, because as you can see, we're at almost 2,000 meters, and we are on the surface. So this is kind of measuring ocean level. So now that we're here, let's go ahead and throw our lights on here. We're going to go ahead and do some science. We're going to get some mystery goo, and that's going to be worth 40 science. Go ahead and observe the materials bay. That's going to be 100 science, which is great. Go do a crew report for 20. And let's go ahead and get our EVA out here. Go and let go. We're just going to take a nice little tumble down to the surface of the moon. Alright. Oh man, he is happy. Congratulations, Jebediah. You are the first Kerbal on the moon. So we're going to go ahead and do an EVA report here for 32 more science. Surface sample for 120 science. And let's go ahead and get our flag planted here as well. Strutco. Man, we learned the hard way about struts, didn't we? Alright, site name, let's go ahead and say first moon landing, and the plaque text, you know, I actually hit 10 subscribers pretty recently, so let's go ahead and do a 10, well, let's do a 10 subscriber celebration. Alright. So, I hope you guys enjoyed here. We finally got to the moon after much trial and error. Thank you guys so much for watching this series and supporting it the way you are. And I know 10 subscribers isn't huge by any means, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. So until next time, have a good one.